Hi everybody, welcome to the AT Developments webinar, which has been organised by iDiversity. I thought I'd just say a few things very quickly about iDiversity and the relationship with eInsist so that everyone's fully aware of that. iDiversity is the parent company of eInsist, and iDiversity is focusing on disability and inclusion services into the workplace. And we're also working on raising awareness and doing marketing activities to increase the knowledge of assistive technology and being disability confident. And that's why we've organised the event today, working with eInsist. Patrick and Dawn are also here. I don't know if you could just quickly say hello, both of you, because you may have worked with them on quotes.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you, good. And Joe is from the iDiversity team and looks after and leads all of the marketing activities. So thank you for coming along today. We've got two really good presentations for you and two new pieces of technology. We have Adam Lee from SpeakSee and Joe from PresentPal. I'm going to hand straight over to them so that they can really talk about the products, and then you've got an opportunity to ask questions, etc. Okay, Adam.
I better start by taking myself off mute and say good morning, everybody, and thanks, Janine. So hopefully you can hear me. I really appreciate the time you've given today. I know you're all very busy, and a big thank you to Janine and the team for setting this up. One of the problems that a small company has entering this market is nobody knows who we are, and we need friends like Janine and eInsist to sort of help us get in contact with you assessors and just really to let you know what we're all about and where we are if you need us. So my name's Adam Lee. I'm the business development manager for the UK for SpeakSee. And SpeakSee is a fantastic new company. It was founded around about 5 years ago, but for 4 of those years, we've been diligently developing our products before bringing them to market. We're a Dutch company, actually, based just outside of Rotterdam, and we comprise of 20 very, very passionate software engineers and product designers. But what makes us quite unique is we've set about the business really with one intention, and that is to bring products to the market that can support deaf and hard of hearing people in lots of areas of their personal and work life, in their education and so forth. We were founded by a very inspirational guy who I very much enjoy working with, called Jari Hasselback. Jari was actually born to 2 deaf parents, and growing up watching how tired his dad was when he came back from a day's work, having had to lip read all day and really being exhausted. From an early age, Jari saw that this was a real challenge for his dad, and that sort of inspired the passion that he has to develop the products that we've got. He really had a sole intention of helping his dad and his mum, and that's sort of driven us to where we are now. I think I've got about half an hour today to sort of show you a little bit of a product demonstration, and we've got a bit of time at the end for some questions as well. So what I'll say is, if you can save your questions at least to the end, then I'll make sure that we can cover any topics that you want to dig into. My link to SpeakSee was actually as a potential customer. My wife has been deaf for about 20 years now. We met at Loughborough University while we were studying together. And only 2 years after leaving, my wife suffered quite dramatic, profound hearing loss. It seems to have been caused by an audio neuropathy. And one of the main sort of problems that brings is she can't use hearing aids. So she's in a career, finds herself in her early 20s, really with a life-changing situation that we needed to try and manage. And we set about together really looking for things anywhere we could find them to try and improve her life and allow her to function as a professional, but also in her personal life. And it was in fact Leah who found SpeakSee about 3 years ago, and she picked up a little bit of the marketing content that they were doing. And as her hearing support slash battering ram, she sent me in to try and get her hold of one of these microphone kits. After talking with the team, I had a phone call back from Yari himself, and he was really interested in the UK market. I was really keen to see if we could get SpeakSee over to the UK. So he actually offered me a job and said, well, you can help me solve this problem, see if we can start to get the brand awareness of SpeakSee really going in the UK, and see if we can help people here as well. Now, I've been with SpeakSee, I think, just over a year now, and we've had a really good start run. And one of the most important things for you guys is we have had full approval from DSA for funding for any students that want to buy our products, both the microphone kit and our auto caption subtitles as well. And we've actually sold to quite a few UK customers already, UK students that are using DSA funding to fully fund the microphone kit. So right now, my job is really connecting with people like you, talking with DSA assessors and access to work assessors and other corporations, really just to try and raise that awareness, lots of product demonstrations, and really try and get our brand out there. So without any more of that, I want to show you the product. So this is what we're here to look at today. It's a very beautifully designed, very Apple looking product. This is our microphone kit. It comprises of a docking unit, and you actually have 3 microphones. I'm wearing one of them at the moment, that dock into this unit. And it's quite a unique thing in the world. There's no other products that do what we do. And how it works is it's designed to support group conversations. As a deaf person, you get the meeting set up. You can then hand out the microphones to each of the participants of the conversation. And what it does is it picks up all of the audio on the specific microphone. It converts that very, very quickly and accurately into subtitles. And it does it in different colors for each of the people that are speaking. The subtitles can then be displayed on a number of different platforms. In fact, we cover pretty much every platform and device out there. At the moment, while I'm chatting away, it's coming up on my iPhone. I've also got a standard tablet, Android tablet, that we can display the subtitles. And in a second, I'm going to share my screen and you can see the subtitles coming through on a browser. And that's one of the real benefits of SpeakSee, is it works with any browser. So you can output it on any laptop as well. And certainly for students, the kind of main areas that they're using this for at the moment is number one, to give one of these mics to their lecturer when they're in a lecture theatre. And that allows them to see all of the subtitles directly on their laptop or phone, with an added benefit that they can then save all of the transcription and all of the notes into a very easy to access Word file or text file, really meaning they haven't got to be concentrating on scribbling notes down, and they can fully engage with the speaker and have that confidence that their notes are being taken for them in the background. Now, in that case, I'm going to try and share my screen. So Joe, if you can't see it, you'll have to shout. Hopefully you can see some text on the screen now.
Yep, that's fine, Adam.
Yeah, it's
fantastic. So you can see as I'm speaking, it's picking it up. It also picked you up there as well, Janine, because I've got my speakers turned up quite loud. And as you can see, it's a very, very quick and very accurate set of subtitles that you get using this system. And what I want to do as well, I'm just going to swap the microphone that I'm wearing is the red one. I want to swap over now to the blue. The software will just take a few seconds to understand now that I've swapped over to a different mic, and hopefully we'll start to get those subtitles through. I think I'm just going to have to reboot that microphone. Bear with me a second. So the blue mic is just starting to initialize. So I'm hoping we can start to see some blue subtitles coming through. Testing blue microphone. Testing, testing. I think I'll try my yellow microphone. I might have run the battery down on the blue. 1 second. Okay, we should try again with the yellow microphone. Excellent. So you can start to see it's picking up duplicated subtitles. You need to talk for about 5 or 6 seconds, and then our software understands that I'm now wearing the yellow microphone. Now, the red microphone is still just down in front of me here, but the software is clever enough to understand that I'm now wearing the yellow. Even though the red microphone can still hear me, the software allows us to eliminate my speech through that microphone to avoid any duplication. And that's a really important part of the product, because when you're trying to follow a group conversation that's quite free-flowing, you need to be able to see the different colors as people speak. And that really gives you a much more natural ability to follow a conversation. Now, in this top right-hand corner, if you can see, you can click on the button here. Just move this screen out of the way. And I can save down the transcript file very quickly, coming out as a text file at the bottom here, which hopefully I can open. Can you see that, Janine? Excellent. So you can see very quickly we've captured all the notes from what I've just been discussing there as well. So this is the note-taking aspect of the product. We've got some additional fun functionality that we kind of have got because of our global nature of our customer base. We've got over 500 customers at the moment across about 6 different countries, including the Netherlands and Spain, France, Germany, and also the US. So we need to be able to cater for all of the different native languages. If you click this button at the top here, we've actually been able to design a very nice interface which allows you to select the spoken language for each individual microphone and the output language that you want to see in subtitles for each of those kits. We've got this device at the moment being used a lot within the Rotterdam local council, because they have quite a high number of Ukrainian refugees. They were finding they had quite a lot of difficulty speaking with them. We've got several devices being used at the moment, not for people that are deaf or hard of hearing, but purely to support with translation. And that's becoming quite a secondary market that we weren't really planning on, where SpeakSee can be very, very useful to people. I had a great meeting with the Birmingham Metropolitan College on Monday. They have some deaf staff there. They're very interested in using the kit to support their staff, but we're equally as interested to help with some of their students that have native African and Indian languages and often find it quite difficult to communicate. So I can see that our device will be being used in several different ways in that situation. While I've got my screen being shared, what I will also show you, if I can just get hold of this tab, I want to show you our auto caption product as well. Now, can you see this, Janine, with some subtitles at the bottom?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, what we've also got here is an app-based version of our microphone kit. It uses the same processor to create the subtitles. But this one is just used on your laptop. And it allows you to have some additional options for captioning video conferences like this. It's entirely compatible with all different video conferencing software, but it also allows you to subtitle absolutely any audio coming over your laptop. So even things like podcasts or YouTube videos, but certainly for students, there's a lot of online content for them to support their learning. Not all of it is subtitled still. This sort of device really allows you to access anything that's online that you need to hear or to understand what's being said. I'm going to give a very short demonstration with David Attenborough doing the talking. I'll let this run for a few seconds just so you can see how the subtitles are working. The added benefit my wife finds with this is she can bring it to the top of the screen, so she doesn't feel as if she's staring down at the bottom of the video when she's on a conference call. So another benefit.
The male 12-wired bird of paradise is the only bird in the world that has tail ornaments like this, used to tickle the face of a prospective mate.
I think that's a good point to end that, but hopefully you've got a gist of how auto caption works. You've got a very, very flexible output on this as well, meaning for people that are deaf blind, they can certainly make the text much bigger. They can change the color on that as well. So it gives you a lot more flexibility to manage the subtitles on your laptop. The other added benefit, certainly my wife mentions often to me, when she was reliant just on Microsoft Teams, for example, which they use in the NHS where she works, you can't actually switch your captions on until they start the meeting. Now that has a bit of a problem because you have to panic for a while and scrap around to get your subtitles going. And you can often miss the first 20 or 30 seconds of the meeting purely because you're trying to get your subtitles working. With auto caption, it allows you to have that switched on all the time. You can be comfortable that as soon as there's any speech, you're going to capture it with subtitles. I'm going to pop myself off of sharing. Hopefully I'm back in the room.
Yep.
Good. So that's kind of what I wanted to show today with the kit working. Sorry I wasn't able to get the blue microphone working there for you. I think my charge had run out on it. And that's probably a good point to make. So the kit itself has a battery life of about 5 hours. That's the docking system. The microphones themselves only last for about 2.5 hours. Now, typically that's usually enough time, certainly if you're even in an all-day meeting. Usually you get a coffee break after a couple of hours. It allows you to redock the microphone and it will immediately start to charge itself back up from the dock. It takes around about 20 minutes to get it back to a full charge, which will give you another 2.5 hours worth of use on the mic kit. So it does allow you to sort of deal with all-day meetings and that sort of thing. As you've noticed, we've got on a mic kit, we've got 3 mics, which allows you to mic up 3 individual speakers. If you're looking to have more around the board table or in a conversation, we can actually link kits together to give us up to 9 individual microphones in different colors. So you can host a large-scale meeting. But I've got some good news as well, is very soon we'll be releasing a bit of software that will allow one microphone to actually capture up to 3 individual speakers, all in different colors. Now that's a real boom for us because it means just one kit with just the 3 mics will be able to support up to 9 individual speakers. And certainly our research sort of suggested that that's the maximum amount of requirement for the majority of people. When you get more than 9, it tends to be more like a presentation, in which case you just give a mic to the person who's hosting the presentation. So I think really, that's the key messages I wanted to deliver, Janine. And I wonder whether it might be worth opening up to some questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Has anybody got any questions they'd like to ask Adam, please?
Price is usually one. So let me just give you the gist of that. The kit itself comprises of a piece of hardware that you buy once, but we do need to charge an annual license fee as well. The hardware is £890 for the microphone kit, and a license is £1,290 per year. And that gives the user full access to all the features and unlimited amounts of transcription. The kit can also be used to support things like telephone calls. My wife used to use TypeTalk, which can be quite a frustratingly slow system sometimes, and also has the downside that there's somebody in the middle listening to the conversation and doing the transcription for you. So it's not really private. You've got somebody you can't see listening into your conversation. My wife uses this very often by just putting her phone on the ground, on the table. She puts the speakerphone on. She puts a microphone just next to the phone, and that allows her to see exactly what's being said. And because of the speed of the subtitles, you don't really have much lag. So that allows her to be very responsive during a phone call. The licensing as well, we are looking at some different pricing options. We will be trialing in a few months a pay-as-you-go option, which will be around about £45 a month, which makes it a much more affordable option for some users. But that is limited to only 30 hours of transcription a month. But we do have a little bit of flexibility on pricing that we offer, really to try and support exactly what people use it for and how often they use it.
Adam, sorry, my dogs are barking in the background. Sorry, everybody. But just very quickly, could you explain the SLC pricing model to the team? And also, we'd obviously need to talk about how the product can get approved into the Northern Ireland and Scottish markets.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm looking at SAS at the moment, and we've got one of my kits is actually up with a student at Edinburgh, who's running around and enjoying playing with the kit and engaging very well with the faculty there. And we're getting some quite positive feedback for how it's dealing with a Scottish accent. And that is an added bonus with SpeakSee. It doesn't seem to have a problem with any of the UK accents, apart from a very strong Scouse accent. We're usually around about 95% accurate. As you mentioned, we're DSA approved fully, and we are looking at the other funding bodies in both Ireland and Scotland, and should be able to get that done fairly soon. Typically, a student purchasing SpeakSee has had it fully funded for 2 or 3 years worth of licensing as part of that purchase. And what we're finding is the assessors that are recommending SpeakSee are recommending really the amount of license that's required for the student's course. So the funding will cover all of that. The largest one we've had was a 4-year license. I believe it was for a master's student that needed one. To place an order, of course, we're working with INSIST team. So if you have any interests from students, you can speak with Janine and the team, and we support behind INSIST and make sure that we can deliver that kit directly from Rotterdam to the student, with a lead time of around about 10 days after we've received an official order. Does that answer your question, Janine? Excellent.
Rob, did you raise your hand for a question?
Hi. Yeah, hello, thanks. Yeah, I thought the presentation was very good. The software seems very accurate. So thank you, Adam. Just 2 brief questions. Could you tell me what languages it operates in? So what can you translate to? Will it work, say a language student is having a lecture in French or Spanish or something like that? Will it work from, say, Spanish to English or that way around? And also, does it pick up subject-specific terminology? So I'm thinking perhaps of a medical nursing student, something like that. Will it link in, or is there any plans for it to link in with things like Medinkle or Spellex dictionaries and so forth?
Well, they're two fantastic questions, and actually looking at my notes, points I was meant to cover. So thank you for that. The language aspect of it, we cover 40 languages that we've verified with native speakers, but we actually cover up to 100 different languages, but we're verifying them as we're required to. So if that makes sense, we've got access to 100, but we've verified 40. And as you just mentioned, yes, if you were attending a lecture in French, you would give the microphone to the lecturer, you'd set the input language as French. I guess if you were testing your own vocab, you'd have the output in French as well. If you wanted to cheat, then you could have your output into English or German or whatever you want. And you can actually set each individual microphone to a different input and a different output language. So if you had 9 going all at once, you could conceivably have 9 different input languages, all coming out in different output languages, or just all into English, if that was the standard across the room. The other question you asked is actually a very good one, because we've just released our latest software update, which allows personalized dictionaries for each account. So if you logged in with your own account and it's your microphone kit, you can teach SpeakSee up to 500 new words. And they can be nonsense words or acronyms, or they can be very specific kind of rare vocabulary that you might get in medical situations. One of the customers that we're dealing with at the moment is the Metropolitan Police. They speak almost entirely in acronyms that I've never heard of. We had a good time teaching SpeakSee all these different acronyms, and it worked very well when we were able to display that back to the Met team. I hope that answers your question.
Adam, did you want to just tell the assessors about the DSA leaflet that you've put together, which summarises lots of the info?
That's a terrific idea. I'll just share my screen. I've brought that up. Let me see if I can bring this up here now. Can you see that leaflet now? Excellent. I'm just going to try and get it sort of to the right size. Now, we've just developed this really to support you guys and being able to talk about the product and speak with your students and your clients about it. Also will help if you're going through a funding application as well. There's some bits and pieces on here that can really substantiate the funding requirement. It gives a brief introduction as to who we are and what the products are all about. We've got a little bit about the company background, and certainly our kind of unique perspective, having a lot of deaf employees and everybody else that either is deaf themselves or has a family member or close friend that's deaf. And it gives some of the key aspects of why we're unique. One of the critical aspects of our microphones, which makes it so good at what it does, is we're able to eliminate background noise. And that's a very important thing, particularly for students, because a lot of where they're speaking or trying to have a conversation, they're going to have a lot of ambient noise. They're going to be next to other people that are talking loudly. And SpeakSee is able to clear all of that out the way and really just identify the speaker's voice. That's also the reason why we're so accurate, because when we deliver the audio data to the transcription algorithm, it's delivered in its very best possible way. It's the most clear and the most clear audio packet that you can give it before the translation takes place. The main unique part is, of course, that we can support group discussions. We've just talked about the personal dictionary, but one of the other key things that's very important to note with SpeakSee is we've been very, very careful with people's data. Everything is encrypted as soon as it is spoken into the docking unit. All the data is transmitted via the cloud, but is encrypted. And only you, as the owner of the microphone kit, can log in and access those subtitles. And what's also very important to note is when you look at a lot of other competitors in this area that do speech to text, they actually have you sign some terms and conditions, which if you read the small print, they're using your conversation details to improve their services, which means they can hear what you're saying. So SpeakSee's been designed for professional use. One of our big customers is actually a large-scale high street bank. So they're very, very important that the data cannot be used or picked up by anyone else to make sure that that data is secure. We've also got a little bit here about where SpeakSee is being used and how it can help students. Certainly in the lecture hall, we're seeing it used more frequently in tutor groups as well, where you've got a small group of 5 or 6 students and the lecturer. You can use auto caption to access any of your online content as well. But also students like to go to the library and study with their peers to sort of revise for exams or cover different topics. This is a great thing to take to the library. SpeakSee is completely mobile, and that's a very important thing. You can connect SpeakSee to your mobile phone hotspot. It only needs about 2 bars of signal and you get an optimum performance. So you can take SpeakSee with you to the library, to the coffee shop, or even down to the local pub for quiz night. And you know that you can use the connection through your mobile phone to get accurate subtitles. I've listed out a few product benefits in here, which we've covered a lot already. And certainly, we have a really good support team behind the product as well. So we look to solve any problems within about 24 hours of the first issue being raised. By making SpeakSee a good product and something that people rely on, we have a responsibility to make sure that if it does have a problem, that we get it back up and running very, very quickly for the person so they can rely on it. And then I've got on the back page, we've got some contact details there. You can go on our website, and I've also got our YouTube channel there as well, because we've got some nice video content, which might be nice to have a look at, certainly share with your students as well, so they can get a better view quickly of what SpeakSee can do. Thanks, Janine. I'll circulate this. I think you've got a copy anyway, but I'll send this together with some video links to you guys. Yeah. And if you could circulate that to everybody afterwards, that'd be great.
We will do. Yeah, that's really good, Adam. Joe, are you there?
I sure am.
Yeah, good. Yeah, are you ready to do the PresentPal update, please?
Yeah, ready to go.
Excellent, thank you.
I'll just share my screen. If you could let me know when you see that, please.
Yeah.
Does that come through okay? Again, thank you everyone for sort of having me, Janine. Thank you for having me on. It's great to sort of see some new faces and definitely some faces that I've seen before. So it's great to sort of catch up with you all again. What I wanted to do today was give a bit of a background on PresentPal for those who haven't seen it for a while or may have only just heard about it, but also give and predominantly focus more on the brand new update that we've actually released last week, end of last week, beginning of this week, and it's our V5 app. Before I move into anything sort of specific, I just want to sort of touch on our accessibility. So we try and make our presentations as accessible as possible by using some of the things you can sort of see on screen there. If anybody is having any challenges or anything like that, then let me know and we will look to sort of resolve that as best as we can, really. For those who don't know about PresentPal and where it came from, this is Chris. It might be a familiar face to some, but not to everyone. Chris himself was a dyslexic student who was studying a business degree at a university in Scotland. I want to say Strathclyde, but I'll just say Scotland, so I'm not. So I'll make sure I get it right. And Chris, throughout his sort of educational journey, always struggled with sort of reading his own handwriting. So visual stress was a big challenge for Chris, but also engaging his working memory as well. And it wasn't until he got onto his course that he was having to sort of do 2 or 3 presentations a week. Now, like I mentioned, his whole educational journey, he'd been doing sort of primary school, no real presentations, secondary school, no real presentations, and then maybe in sixth form or college, he might have done 1 or 2 sort of slideshows with 3 or 4 of his peers up there with him. It wasn't until he got to university that he was doing seminars, he was doing debates, he was doing pitches, and all of these things meant that he had to be up there on his own. It wasn't something he could do as part of a group, and they were coming so thick and fast that it actually meant he was struggling to sort of ingrain those into his working memory. So when he sought some help, there were 2 options available to him, I suppose if you can call them options. The first option was to not present at all and be given an average grade of the class. So that meant that it completely sort of took his grade out of his own hands and put it into that of his classmates, which I don't really think would ever have been an option. And the only other option was to present one-on-one to a tutor. Although better, and it meant that he could have his grades in his own hands, it also didn't mean that he was able to build up the practice of being actually able to present to groups and things like that. So that's where PresentPal was born. Now, we do a whole heap of research. We're always trying to work with different institutions and trying to gather as much information on presentations as we can. And I can share all of this with you. Just for the sake of time today, I'm not going to spend too much time on the research, but if there is anything else you want to see, then we can definitely dive back into that, maybe on a more of a one-to-one or something like that. Just quickly touching on sort of how popular presentations are as part of courses now, 95% of the participants, and that's 176 students across 80 different UK higher education institutions, said that their course relies on various kinds of presentations, which is 2 or more formats. So that could be slideshows and seminars. It could be debates and vivas. It could be, I don't know, poster presentations and 3-minute theses or something like that. But 80% of those participants said that they had a presentation that actually impacted their final grade. Now, the final grade isn't just your summative assessment at the end of the term. The final grade is actually your overall degree. So it really shows the scale of importance of these presentations that students are actually having to do really, really quite frequently as well. Sorry, wait for my slide to move over. There we are. Now, there's like I mentioned, 176 students that we asked about presentations, and these are some of the words that they came back with and what a presentation is to them. So you'll see some things like slides, you'll see some things like being in front of a group of people, it might be written work, but the majority of what you'll see there is that it tends to be presenting or delivering some form of information, normally orally. And you can either use it with or with a visual aid. So a poster presentation, a slideshow, both have visual aids, but tends to be a debate that doesn't, for example. Now, there could be a whole different, well, a huge amount of reasons why somebody could struggle with a presentation. There are lots of them on the screen now. And they're all very personal, all very individual challenges. Just using my colleagues on the call now, so I'll use Cara as an example. Everyone has different learning styles, and the way that people overcome their challenges is often very different. So to say that information recall, Cara and I both have the same information recall challenge. The way that we would overcome that is, although the challenge is the same, the way we would overcome it is actually really quite different. Now, what PresentPal does is, with its features, have a number of different ways of supporting with each of these on screen. So information recall, for example, could be our safety net feature that would support with that. Again, I'm conscious of time, and I do want to dive into some of our sort of main features. So I'm going to skip over some of the other challenges and the other bits of research that we've done. But if you do see something that sort of I suppose sparks your interest, then definitely get in touch and we can go over that. Here's an important one that I will touch on lastly, I suppose. That 89% of students said their biggest challenge with presentations was presentation anxiety. So that's ahead of everything like answering questions at the end of your presentation. That's forgetting your content. That's, I suppose, feeling judged by the audience, something like that. And from the case studies that we've done, if you are a DSA student, you are twice as likely to experience presentation anxiety than a student in a general population university, which is a huge, huge increase. And when you look at that stat and compare it to these ones, it really can show how beneficial PresentPal can be. So after 2 presentations with PresentPal, confidence doubled at the University of Tennessee. And after using PresentPal rehearsal mode, confidence with presentations increased by 66% at the University of Memphis. Now, you're probably thinking these are nothing to do with DSA, nothing to do with even sort of the UK. But the reason I always put these in is because it shows, one, the scale of the presentation challenge, that it's a global problem for students and sort of non-students alike. But it also shows this point that it's actually, they were general population studies. So it really can show you the main sort of support that can be there for students. But that's enough of that. And what I can now do is share my phone screen. So I might have to do a new share actually. So apologies for that. If I share my phone screen, I'm hoping that you can see that now.
Yeah, that's fine, Jay.
Amazing. So this is my phone. PresentPal itself is predominantly a mobile app. We do have integrations with things like Google Slides and with PowerPoint, and it was actually what I was using then to control my slides and things like that. I had all my notes available to me while I was controlling my slides with my mobile device. Now, here is normally where I would tell a student to sort of dive in and have a bit of an understanding of the app. But the best place to start is always tutorials or settings. Now, if you're in tutorials, I suppose I don't need to spend too much time on this one. You're going to be watching videos or understanding how to use the app, and it's our own little training section. All of our videos are fully captioned, and they are all fully up to date with the most recent features and can be watched either in the app or on the YouTube channel as well. We've got some walkthroughs which step-by-step guide a user through doing that activity. So if I choose personalizing the app, then you'll see it will step-by-step me through actually choosing how to personalize the app itself. And that's then where I jump in and tell a student to really, I suppose, make the app best suit their visual needs. So I mentioned with Chris, he really struggled with visual stress. The accessibility within the app itself was always sort of paramount to us. We wanted to be able to make sure that all students had the ability to make it best suit their needs. So we have 5 fonts, 5 font sizes, and 10 color overlays, all with a dark mode toggle, which will allow users to really reduce that visual stress as much as possible. Before I move on, does anybody have a visual preference at all? Is the text sizing okay and things like that? I don't want people to be squinting or anything like that. Perfect. Well, I'll stick with my preference if that's okay. Then I'll leave it on dark mode. We've got a few other accessibility settings, things like accessible scroll. It adds a button to the top and the bottom of the screen, which allows you then to navigate through the whole app once this is on with only a single tap. There's no need for any gestures, no pinches, swipes, or anything like that. Just tap that on. And that's the setup phase, really. That's where students can jump in, or what I call the setup phase, learn how to use the app and make it best suit their needs. But the bread and butter of the app is actually in decks and in training. Now, a deck is a presentation overall. So you can see here things like the presentation I did yesterday on the Commonwealth Games. That's the overall deck. And then we have flashcards, which are subtopics within that presentation. So the opening and closing ceremony, the legacy, the venues, and a bit of a bibliography as well. So you can see how you would set up and how PresentPal supports with the creation of that. And I'm going to ask for some audience participation if possible. Just any suggestion of a topic, could be silly or serious. We've had Commonwealth Games, we've had chocolate before, types of dogs. Any preference in the audience? Okay, I'll stick with a favourite of mine, then we'll go with types of dog. Now, for those sort of eagle-eyed, you may notice that we've actually included a presentation date here. Now, this is part of the V5 release. It's the presentation planner, and what it's there to do is really support students with a whole heap of different pieces of content to actually support them with their presentation. So we can select a presentation date on a specific time or the whole month, if we choose the 1st of March, and tick that box there. That will actually send us hints and tips directly to our emails that will support us with things that we've chosen before. Now, I've logged in, I've created my account, and I've already put in sort of my preferences on what I'd like support with. But I'll show you a little bit later on, once I've gone through everything else, the kind of support that students can get. So remember this part. What we can do is go through and add all of our flashcards. Now, we've updated the UX as well, which is the user experience within the app. And it's much more fluid. So as you'll see, every time I create a new flashcard, every time I create a new bullet, it's very intuitive in the way that it moves through. Students aren't having to stop and start and sort of constantly click the keyboard to bring it up, and which could potentially cause distractions, things like that. What it does here is really enable you to just sort of get all of your thoughts down in a flow. So if I have this as an introduction, and I can add a bullet, which can say, here to talk about dogs, 5 breeds, oh, don't know why I've done that, 5 breeds of dog, and just get all the points that I'm looking to discuss in my introduction into that. So what I can also do is go in and add what's called a safety net. Now, I mentioned for information recall, if you struggle with your information recall and you can't really remember what a bullet's supposed to mean, then you can click into that and actually add either an image safety net or a text safety net. The image safety net's really good for those who are visual learners, and the text safety net can be used to put in things like lists or a bit of a script, whatever works best for the user. So here I could put 5 breeds of dog, Spaniel, Terrier, German Shepherd, I could put Labrador, and so on. The sort of the content, I suppose, isn't hugely important, but what it's allowing me to do is show you exactly how a student would create a presentation. If I was in the library and I was creating a joint presentation with friends and we've got a big whiteboard full of our mind maps and things, what I can actually do is either upload an image from the gallery, or I can upload an image with my camera. So I can take a picture. I know it's my wall, but a bit of imagination. Let's pretend that that's a whiteboard and it's all of our great ideas on the different types of dogs that are on there. And I can add that in as well. Now, we also have the integrations with PowerPoint as well, which I can quickly touch on, but won't go again into too much detail, just because I want to show you more on the V5 release. Our integrations with both PowerPoint and Google Slides allow you to create notes in exactly the same way, except with a sidebar on. In fact, if I share my screen again, I can show you exactly what it is. Just hide this floating meeting control so I can see where I'm going. If I go into here, I can actually show you the integration itself and how it works with the bar along the side to allow you to create more notes. Now, both sync in with each other. So if I create notes on my phone, it will sync over to my integration. And likewise, if I sync with my integration, it will sync onto my phone. So if I go into here, you can see that I'm on my app on the left. And if I refresh into the integration, now my internet has been rather slow this morning, but you can see there that I've got types of dog. I can go into my introduction, which I've just noticed I've spelt wrong. And here are all of the bullets that were created. And again, I can do that and it will link up with all of the slides that I've created as well. So if I now go into my second slide, and this one was called, I don't know, Spaniels, because that's what we wanted to introduce, then I can go in and I can add in bullets just as easy as I would on the phone, add them in, and it will appear on the phone as well once I've moved back across there. Again, if I just go back there, refresh, you can see it now says 2 flashcards, Spaniels is there, and everything we included is there. So as you're creating your presentation, you're actually able to go through and mix and match between being on the bus on the way home or being in the library on your computer or something like that. Now, one last thing that I wanted to jump in and show you was the rehearsal mode. So rehearsal and present work very similarly, except one, rehearsal mode actually allows you to access some of the data from your rehearsal while also being able to sort of let you hear things and play back. Now, just to sort of save any kind of distraction, I'll leave that on full screen. Hopefully you can see, oh no, that's too big, we won't do that. You can see here in our rehearsal homepage that we allow students to choose a target time, so however long their presentation needs to be. It could be 2 minutes and 5 seconds, whatever it is. I'll select 2 minutes just for now. We can see all of the previous times we've rehearsed. We have access to our dashboard area and all of our previous rehearsals as well. Now, we haven't rehearsed this specific deck yet, so we're unable to do that. But what if I do a rehearsal now? I can either rehearse with a slideshow, and again, that will allow me to control all of my slides. As I'm moving through different flashcards, the slides will move over and I'll have everything available to me on my phone. Or if you're doing a poster presentation, a seminar, something like that, where you need the notes in front of you, you can also do it just on device, which is exactly what I'll do here. It'll give me a countdown and then start to record everything I'm saying. So I can then start saying, hi guys, good morning. It's Joe from PresentPal. I'm here to talk to you about lots of different types of dogs. Now, we've done some research at university and these are some of the key things that we've seen from that. And once I've finished that point, I can tick it off to allow me to actually see exactly where I'm supposed to be next. So allow me to focus on the bullets that I'm supposed to be discussing without too much cognitive overload. Having lots on the screen can really sort of throw some students. And what we wanted to be able to do was really avoid that. The 5 dogs that I'm going to be going over today are actually, I've forgotten, let me access my safety note. Spaniels, Terriers, German Shepherds, Labradors, and Golden Retrievers. And I can continue to move through, talk about all the different points that I've put in, and I can do that in any order. I don't have to go 1, 2, 3. I can go 3, 1, 2. And that feature works really well because in a seminar format, you're likely to be flowing between conversations. You're not always going to be following such a rigid structure. You may be throwing down lots of points and going, I'll talk about 2, then 3, then 1 before moving on, for example. What I'll do is end the presentation there and end the rehearsal. And what PresentPal will do is build me some hints and tips on how to improve things like that. So you can see there that it says target time 2 minutes, presentation time 1 minute and 9 seconds. I was under my time by 43%, which is a hell of a lot of time. So I need to look at my shortest flashcards and see how I can improve and get close to my time. Lots of tutors will give students 10% either side. So it makes sense for me to be able to dive in there and have a look. Now, if I share my sound, share computer sound, and I press play on any of my flashcards and then start to record everything I'm saying. So I can then start saying, hi guys, good morning, it's Joe from PresentPal. I'm here to talk to you. I don't know if you could hear that then. I had a pop-up appear about Zoom and permissions, so I'm hoping you could.
Right.
But what that allows me to do is dive in, identify the different positives and negatives of my presentation, listen back to where I maybe have stumbled over my words or something that I really liked how I'd phrased it and things like that, and continue to move forward and use that in the rest of my presentations. And now we're back at the home page where we've got access to the dashboard area and our previous rehearsals. The dashboard area will tell me about my best presentation so far. It will give me a bar chart and that will continue to sort of add bars in and show me how well I'm doing and close to my target time, but also average then across all of my flashcards, across all of the different rehearsals. So the more I do, the more I'm going to get valuable information on exactly how close I am to each, I suppose, flashcard timing. Now, that's rehearsal mode. Present is pretty much exactly the same, except it doesn't record, but it does allow you to still have access to all of your notes in the checkpoint feature, as well as actually being able to connect up to integrations too. We have a whole training section which allows students to really upskill in their certain sort of, well, chosen areas, chosen categories, whatever works best for them. And all of our lessons are taken from professional coaches who are working both in the education sector and in the workplace to help students actually improve with their presentations. I'm not going to go over any lessons today because what I want to do now is actually jump straight into our planner. So here is an example of the kind of information that students will get when they set that time. So if you remember back to when we were creating our deck and we chose the 1st of March here, 4 weeks before or 3 weeks before, depending on what I suppose they've chosen to have help with, 2 weeks before and 2 days before is when students will get information sent directly to their email to support them, like I mentioned, in the areas that they've chosen. So in this case, we've chosen delivering your presentation. It's something that I'm always nervous about. I can really put the hours in, but when it comes up to sort of being in front of people, the anxiety is what hinders my presentation. So I've jumped into here based on some of the notes and things and recommendations that PresentPal's given me. I've got access to videos on how to give really good presentations. I've got blogs that I can read and understand different ways of improving that. And I've also got the homepage there, which will take me to some of the other areas. If I go into one of the blogs, you can see here that we've got top 3 presentation rehearsal techniques, which allows me to go really deep into how exactly I can improve. Again, how to prepare for questions and answers, all these kinds of things that will support students, especially when they're looking to sort of deliver that presentation as well as they can. And it really avoids that presentation procrastination, because if you don't know where to get started and you're like me and like I was, would leave it 2 or 3 days beforehand and then cram everything into 12-hour study sessions. What this allows me to do, or allows students to do, is really actually separate that practice, separate that understanding, and really allow them to sort of prepare correctly for their presentation. Now, I will just quickly, the last couple of slides, jump back into it and just to go over some more on that. Where are we? Perfect. So if you were looking to sort of recommend PresentPal, we provide a justification document which I can send over, which helps with different elements of support with different, I suppose, disabilities, or how PresentPal can support with different, with different students. We've currently got over 10,000 students using PresentPal and supporting them with their challenges, supporting them with their presentations. So if you want to hear any more about that, then you can. But we can definitely provide you with a justification, and if there's anything that you've seen today that you wanted to dive a little bit more into, we can 100% do that on a one-to-one that we're running as well. I'll leave my QR code up on screen just while I take any questions, if anyone has any of those. We're running some workshops to really dive much deeper into the version 5 release. We're going to be doing all of the different elements, so delivering your presentation, rehearsing, but also actually getting started as well. They're the 3 elements we're doing. So if you wanted to scan that, you can join me on some of our sessions that we're going to be running the next 2 weeks. But other than that, I'm ready to take questions if anyone has any.
I think David had a question in the chat regarding the font options, Joe.
Perfect.
Yeah, Verdana. Are you looking to add Verdana to the list of fonts, or can you? So
I'm not actually sure on roadmap for fonts, but it's definitely a question I can get asked. So I know that when we were doing the fonts, that we chose sort of some of the most popular ones. So you'd have noticed that Open Dyslexic and things were in there. But what I can definitely do is make a note of Verdana and see if it's something that is on the roadmap, and come back to you if that's okay, David. Oh, I've seen a nod. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I'll make sure to come back to you on that one, David.
Yeah. Is there anything, Joe, that you could send through to us that we could circulate to the team?
Yeah. So there's quite a few things. Depending on what people want to see, really. Like I mentioned, we've got our justification document. We've got a bit of I suppose, a leaflet or a PDF document, yeah, which will tell you a bit more about some of the features and things like that. We've got installation instructions. So if you wanted to learn a bit more about the integrations, how to download and install those, and we can share that. It really does depend on, I suppose, what people would prefer, what's more useful. Those who are new to PresentPal may want the handout. Those who understand it a bit more and want to be able to sort of work more into the integrations, then they may require that. So what I tend to do with following up is send over a link that takes you to a bit of a form. It automatically generates your CPD certificate for you and allows you to request any kinds of bits of information that you think might be best. So it tends to be better than for people to be able to choose the kind of information, rather than me sending out lots of pieces to lots of different people. Yeah. But if that's okay, then I'll get that out. And for those who have met with me between sort of Feb and end of March, also get put into our draw as well. So everyone who wants to and who opts in can qualify for our quarterly draw as well.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe.
No, thank you.
Are there any more questions at all, anybody? No? Okay. Well, I'd like to thank David from Book My Assessments for helping us to organise today. And thank you to our presenters, because it all takes time, doesn't it? So thank you, David, for doing that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And if, you know, we'd love to get your feedback, because we're really passionate about raising awareness of assistive technology. We'd like to hear from you, you know, what do you want to see? Are there things that you'd like us, subject areas you'd like us to investigate and see what technology is available and share with you? So if you could feed that back to me or through David, that'd be really good to get that feedback. Okay, thank you, everybody.